The company was a single entity, Creditville Nigeria Limited. It wasn't Creditville Group then. It was Creditville Nigeria Limited. Today, Creditville is a finance group.
When Richard Rotoye joined Creditville, the business was a single entity with 5 offices. Today, 5 years later, Creditville has grown to a group of 6 profitable and stable companies, including a microfinance bank, a finance house, a lending company, an asset management company, a properties company, and a bureau de change. In a nation where over 96% of businesses remain small businesses, we were curious to find out how he did it. In this episode of Seed Diaries, we share the courageous story of how Richard Rotoye transformed Creditville from a single entity into a robust fintech group of companies. Join us on Seed Diaries as we share stories of entrepreneurs who are building strong brands in Africa.
Hello everyone, my name is Mama Kokoye and you're welcome to another episode of the Seed Diaries. Today I have with me Richard Rotoye of Creditville. Hello Richard.
Hello.
Before we go into the interview, I'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, and share. You're welcome to Seed Diaries. So Richard Rotoye, Creditville, you are the managing director. Do you want to tell us a bit about what is Creditville and who does Creditville serve?
Okay, so Creditville today is a finance group. We are into asset management, microfinancing, lease financing, operating lease. We're into all those services that would help you improve your financial experience. Those are the services that we provide.
And who do you provide it for?
Well, so our target market is basically the middle class and then the lower middle class. That is Nigerians, working day, everyday Nigerians who need financial services for all sorts of businesses. I mean, well, of course, we serve the rich too, but our focus is on the middle class of Nigerian society. So that's our target market.
Interesting. Now, on Seed Diaries, we have primarily interviewed founder/CEO, but your case is different. You were recruited as a managing director. How did that happen?
Okay, so, I need to let you know that as a managing director, also, a shareholder of the company.
Okay.
So, how did it happen? So, I in my previous employment, I was in my previous employment, and then I got a hint that the company wanted to expand. They wanted to do something different, expand their horizon, increase their share capital and all of that. And so I was contacted, and then I met with the shareholders who opened up to me about what they want for the Creditville of the future. And without sounding prophetic, a few years, before, I had the premonition that, something like this will come along, that I would have the opportunity to, work in a company that I will help move to, the next phase of its evolution. So when the opportunity came, for me, it was just like a no-brainer that this is the opportunity that I've been waiting for. And so we quickly, we're on the same page. And then here we are today. We moved Creditville miles and miles further than where it was in 2018.
Okay, we're going to talk about that, but had you ever led a company?
And before then, no.
So how did you know that you could do it? Because you said it was prophetic and you kind of were, it sounded like it came just at the right time. You prepared yourself for it. How did you think that you could lead the organization, and how do you think that the team or the shareholders that recruited you figured out that you could do it?
Okay, so on my own part, I think every person needs to prepare themselves for a higher challenge. So I think for me, it's part of my upbringing, part of my professional life, part of my personal life. I always like to learn something new, to know something, outside my sphere of influence, to try to know, so I'm primarily a risk management, expert. I was trained a risk management expert, but over time I've learned about technology, I've learned about accounting, financing, got to know about revenue assurance, got to know about, HR, admin, So in my previous employment, I used to just like to know what these people did. Okay. And of course, I've had some level of formal and informal training in leadership. So when the opportunity came, it wasn't a big challenge for me because I had prepared myself all this while, okay, for leadership, for such, wider capacity, okay? So I just knew it was something I would do. And then coupled with what I said before, that, that opportunity will come, Maybe it was God speaking to me, but I just knew the opportunity will come. So when it came, it wasn't much of a challenge for me. The part B of your question, the shareholders, how did they know? I think for them, they set their criteria. They knew where they wanted the company to be. They had a form of profiling. This is the kind of person we would like to lead this company. And then when they met with me, I can't speak 100% for them, but I think they felt, okay, this person fits this profile, so let's give it a try. And 4.5 years later, I think it's working.
Huh. So when you started a new role, what surprised you the most? Because you prepared, as you had mentioned. Was it exactly the way you thought it would be, or were there surprises? And if there were, what were they?
Yeah, there were. Would I say a few surprises? There were surprises. So, as human beings, one of the challenges we have is managing change, accepting change. Okay, we like to be in our comfort zone. We like to, we welcome familiar experiences. But when somebody walks through the door and says, okay, this has been happening, or you've been doing this for the past few years, we need to change things. Some people, without hearing you out, they jump at you right away. Some people, they hear you out, they know you've come to bring positive change, but they still jump at you anyway. Very few people will say, interesting. What is this about? We'll support you. So I would say, initially, I had challenge with getting people to understand what the new vision was about. Okay, but we got into it, and then we started flowing with it, and where we are today. Another thing again that surprised me was the level of opportunity that many small companies have, but don't know they have. Okay, so Creditville took that decision to pivot, and it did. Many companies, looking back 2 years after we started this project, I now thought to myself, oh, there's this other company I know. If they tried this, they would know. There's this other company I know. If they tried this, So many companies in Nigeria today have opportunity to grow. But for traditional reasons, for reasons, related to settlement, for several different reasons, companies just stay where they are. If the ownership of Creditville didn't take that decision that, look, we need to change management, we need to pivot, we need to, the company will probably still be where it was, maybe a bit of growth. But today the company is where it is because the shareholders just took that decision that they want to, move to the next phase of the evolution of the company. And
you weren't. Great. And so now I'd like to know more about, so let's talk about where Creditville was, where Creditville is, and where Creditville is going, so that we can understand the opportunities you just talked about.
Okay, so 5 years ago, thereabouts, Creditville was a profitable company. I must say that the company had always been profitable. The company had always been well.
So it's 5 years ago that you,
About 4.5 years.
okay, 2018.
2018.
Okay.
So the company had always been well run, profit making, okay, and had steady growth. Okay. So the company was a single entity, Creditville Nigeria Limited. It wasn't Creditville Group there. It was Creditville Nigeria Limited. Doing its lending with a lender's license, just moved this head office from Port Harcourt to Lagos, had 5 branches. Okay. The company was relatively small. Okay, if I can use that because there's what's the definition of small?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relative.
So was relatively small but growing steadily. It was stable. Okay. We got in the new management led by me. Got in 2018. Started the journey. Today, Creditville is a finance group. It is no longer one single entity. There's a microfinance bank. There is a finance house. There's a lending company. There is an asset management company. There's a properties company. There's a bureau de change. Okay. So from the single entity that I was in 2018 to a group of 6 stable companies today. Okay. So that's where Creditville is in 2023. Where is Creditville going? Creditville will become a multinational. Okay, in the next 5 years, Creditville would have offices in at least 3 other African countries. Creditville will trade in multiple currencies. Creditville will have probably 10 subsidiaries worth over anything between $500 and $1 billion. And of course, the management team will be a continent-wide or globally recognized management team. Okay, meaning we are going to have other nationals coming to the management team. So that is the future, the immediate future of Creditville. What the next 10, 15 years hold is another, but 5 years from today, that is what Creditville will be.
You say that with such assurance. That's very, 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 what's the word? It's intimidating. But, how, you talked about the opportunities that were available to Creditville, which Creditville availed itself of, and that there are many opportunities for many businesses, but maybe they're not availing themselves. How did you go from Creditville, 5 branches, to a group? What series of actions? And where did you get the money? Because I would think that would have taken quite a lot of capital. How were you able to do that? And what steps did you take, maybe broadly, just to kind of walk someone through, someone is trying to transition, move their company. One, succession planning. The second one is to the next level. What steps, if you could articulate, would you say that you took?
I think that the first thing is to know what you want your company to be.
So to have the vision.
Have a vision.
Okay.
Then marry that vision with what is possible.
Okay.
You want your company to be a $1 billion company. Okay. Is it possible, in this environment with the, is it possible? If you tick the box in both occasions, then you now ask yourself, how do I go about this? Okay. So what the shareholders did was to say, we have this company, we have these opportunities, and we have these endless possibilities in Nigeria. What do we need to do? The next thing is strategy and manpower. So it's either if you have the capacity to do the strategy yourself and then bring the manpower to execute, fine. If you need to bring the manpower in first to now design the strategy, fine. Okay? So what the company did was to first of all look at all the regulations we have, the political environment, and decide, what do we do? Okay? So first thing, we went for the microfinance bank license, went for asset management license. Okay? So you have to ensure that you do things by the book. Okay? So we got these approvals, this regulatory framework, right? And then we began to execute. One of the first steps I took then was to begin to bring certain people into the company. Okay,
the team.
Yes, to be the executive management team. And then, of course, you can never do it. You can never. So we brought people in at the executive level, and then we started, working with the board of directors and shareholders to. And I must say, the chairman of the company is someone very, very cerebral.
Who's that?
Before you, Mr. Michael, before you finish, explaining the strategy, trust me.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you have great support for all the shareholders.
He understands it. So, I've said this in several places. COVID was a terrible thing. Was the terrible thing, and we pray it never happens again.
Yes.
In 2020, we were able to design our strategy around COVID, and I think it worked perfectly well for us during that time, because a lot of financial services were pulled, out of the system. So people were looking for where to lend. People were looking for, people were worried, what do we do? And at that time, Creditville was able to step in and, retain its customers and also provide financial services for new customers. And so during that year, we were able to
grow.
We were able to.
So what were you able to do that others couldn't do?
Well, not that they couldn't do it, they just
Did not do. Okay.
Okay, so for example, COVID came and a lot of companies saying, look, we're not lending money to anybody, we're not doing this for anybody, there's COVID,
Mm-hmm.
But we just looked at that. We thought to ourselves, okay, so what's the worst that can happen? Okay, COVID comes and it wipes everybody up. Oh, I need to
say about this matter. That's a good one.
But if COVID comes and goes, we've acquired more customers and we are still in business. Okay, so it was just a decision for us to either, up and run like every other person, or to have faith that it was a judgment call, and we did, and it became all right for us. It did. So after COVID, we began.
Wow, that's excellent. And not many companies can boast of that. In fact, many companies actually folded up. So kudos. Excellent. So what about the finances? I need a financial house for a group, a financial group. Still, to go from the entity that you were to the holding entity that has all the other companies that you are now, how did you chart the financial path to achieving that?
Okay, so the shareholders are, of course, at the forefront of it. Provided more capital for the company to expand both fiscally and physically. We're able to get in. We were able to help scale our manpower and then put in more money into the business, and then of course that meant we could provide more services, led to more people. Then we expanded our leasing, arm. And then we we injected capital into the microfinance bank. And then, of course, careful execution. Okay? But the shareholders really, they did a lot in ensuring that the company, trajected to where we wanted to.
Earlier on, you mentioned something. You talked about the preparation for the next level being a part of your upbringing. Can you speak a little bit more to that? What the family, what type of family did you come from? How many children were you? You know, how did that, your upbringing, influence your current person or your, who you are today?
Okay, so first of all, I'm a very, very how would I put it? I'm not very public with my family life, so. But I come from a very, very, very well-educated family, and I grew up around cousins who were consultants, lawyers, and all of that. And I'd always wanted to be like either one cousin or the other. You know, I saw the way they, how they went to school, came to school as a child, and I had desires from childhood. I wanted to be very well educated. I wanted to be a banker. I wanted to. Okay, so that in many ways. Plus, my mom was a working mother. My dad was in the military, so I grew up in that environment. So I wanted to. The least acceptable education level in my family was a master's degree. I mean, if you don't have a master's degree, then
not about it.
Okay, so plus the environment I grew up in fostered that professionalism. Okay, so even till today, there are many of my cousins I still look up to that. Oh my goodness, I wish I could just be like this guy. He's achieved so much. And then, of course, I know that a few of my cousins and maybe my nephews and nieces that look at me and say, oh, they would like to be like me.
Yes.
It's a very, very highly skilled professional family. Okay, so that had just been my drive, my driving force from day one. Wanted to be successful, wanted to be known for professionalism, achievements and all of that. So I drive myself. My wife says I'm an overthinker, but hey.
That's what it's there for. Okay, so let me see. So you've talked about how your family influenced the decision, your preparedness and your aspiration to be the managing director or to lead something greater when you were in your former job. Were you married at that time?
Oh, yes.
Okay. How many children do you have, family?
I have 2 boys.
2 boys.
Married 12 years now.
Oh.
12 years.
How old are the boys?
Ronald is 10. Ronald is 12.
Nice. So how does the professional work? Is it very demanding, single family, that sort of thing? Just generally, how do you arrange things? Because some families, when we talk, the leadership is very demanding. And sometimes people have to have systems that they use to manage their house or their families. Do you have something like that you can share?
Okay, so I think the first thing is I have a very understanding wife. She's a lawyer. She's a professional. She grew up like I did in a military family. So they used to. So we in military families are used to our parents not being around. Yeah. So that has been infused into our children. They are used to me not being around, but when I'm around, we watch TV, we play, we ride bicycle, we gist, we talk about almost everything. So at times I could be with them in the house the whole day just watching TV, eating popcorn, and I grill fish for them. And yeah, we have some videos on YouTube.
Yeah. So you're not that dad that when you're coming, everything has to be straight.
Oh, my kids, they greet me with a hug and at times with signs and all of that. No, I'm not that old-fashioned.
Oh.
So there's, one day I asked my kid, I said, what's the most spoken word in this house? And he said, he said, love. I can say I love you to my kids 10 times in one day, one single day.
Really?
Yes. And it's deliberate. I could just go, hey guys, what's up? Love you. And then we do high five. And then they do pay back. They come back to me and say, Daddy, love you. And it's deliberate because you do all of these things. You build companies, you build factories, you employ people, you create job opportunities out there. What's going on at home? And one day you're 55 and you're 60. And all of those things fade away. And then you look forward and what you're seeing is your wife or your husband and your children. They are the only ones left. Then you ask yourself, how did you manage this up to this point that you are left with them? So the most spoken word in the house is love. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. My son is downstairs shouting, Dad. I say, yes. He wants to say something. I like, love you, Dad. I'm like, oh, love you, son, you know. So it's deliberate, it's scripted, it's planned. That's how we want to live.
So at what point did you come up with this plan or decide that this is how you want to do it? Because it's unusual in a good way. And I would like to, and I would like to know, how you talk about it being deliberate and scripted, which means you thought about it and you planned it and said, this is the kind of family I want to have and this is what I want to do.
We have to be deliberate about everything. Everything. Okay, so when I was getting married with my wife, we sat down and said, okay, rule number one, we will never, ever, ever have a quarrel or a shouting match in front of the children. And we said, okay, and this is 12 years. And I even went further. I tell my friends, I have never in 12 years raised my voice at my wife. People may not believe it, but I have never said, I've never raised my voice. Not because she's a saint or I'm a saint. It's just deliberate. Don't do this simple. And I won't do it. So I'm a bit stiff in that, I write things down a lot. I'm a scripted person. People in the office know my lifestyle. They know, so, and I'm very open. So we sat down. We know where we are coming from. We know how we're brought up. What do we want to pass on to the next generation? And we sat down. My wife is a lawyer, so, that's special. So we sat down and said, we would not do this, we would not do this, we would do this, we would do this.
Did you write it down? Or you discussed
I don't know, but I wrote it down.
Oh.
Yeah, and I wrote that. I said, fine, that email. We communicate by email at times.
Yeah, interesting.
That. So it was just deliberate that no matter what is happening in the whole world, this is how we treat each other. Of course, we get mad.
Yeah, challenges.
48 hours or something like that. But the kids, for the kids, it's different. They can only see, there's this thing we say in how we say, think good thoughts. We say it, think good thoughts, So for them, we only want them to think good thoughts. But not that they should think the world is a utopia. At times we drive them, going to church, we show them things outside, the car. Tell it, this happens to people like this. This happens this way. This happens this way. It's not because they are not smart, not because you are better than them, not because of this. It just happens because at times life happens. Yeah. At times you make mistakes, Yeah. So for me, I try to live a scripted life so that I don't give things to chance, Oh, this just happens because I failed to plan or because I didn't think about this, No, it's all deliberate. It's all scripted.
So I would think that if you're, since you're deliberate and scripted, you're very intentional. Yes. How is it at work? Because someone who is very intentional, I'm just trying to imagine, do you get frustrated when people don't really think things through? Or well, let me know.
So I can say I'm one of the easiest people to work with in this world because you know what else.
What you see is what you get.
Yes,
okay.
You know that.
Okay.
So when people do contrary to what they know I would accept, it's more frustrating. Because if they don't know, then you probably...
Yeah, but they know better.
So it's very frustrating. It's frustrating every day.
Yes.
Okay? Because you expect this, you get this. You expect this, you get this. Yeah, I understand things don't go the way you
Yes.
But it's more frustrating when it's easy, it's obvious, and then you still fluff it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be very.
There would be, but things. So how would you handle it? What do you do?
So once upon a time in my life, I worked with a boss, and Abraham is South African. You know, my previous employer in town. That man is a wonderful mentor. So in leadership, he mentored me in corporate leadership. And Abraham will see the heaven fall and will remain calm and will pick what is left of the rubble and then will work with other people to build back. So when things happen that are supposed to annoy me at times, I just look and just, do a bit of calculation in my head. And so at times, that's the side of me that can be a bit surprising and but it's going to just feel fine. At times when you don't expect me to be very happy,
So in your head, you're like Google Maps, we're calculating.
Yeah, trying to calibrate and try.
How do we solve this?
Yes, how do we do this? So I think that goes for everything in life. When you're shocked by something, or you're surprised, or you're disappointed, and all of that. It's just the first thing to do is to shut up and step back.
Yes.
And then use your brain judiciously. Then come back, because the natural thing is for us rush into it and try to.
Yes.
But in leadership, at times just you say nothing, you take a step or two back, and then you recalculate, and then you respond.
So now, let me go back to Creditville. Now that you're, there's different entities. So are you the group
Yes.
CEO? So then you have other units, business SBU, like unit heads that report to you. What sort of, how will I put it? Like what is the culture? How do you translate the culture that you have at home or your personal mantra? Do you have a different type of work mantra? Because sometimes you have to put on different hats. What sort of environment or culture do you have at Creditville? How does that work?
Okay, so at Creditville, like I said earlier, I try to be as open, as transparent as possible. You know what you get. Okay, so what you see is what you get. There's nothing behind the curtain. Okay, so we define what we want to achieve early in the year, and then we start working at how do we get to achieve it. So we are very informal in the office. Okay, first name basis. We try as much as possible to work both as colleagues, but also as friends. So for me, the culture is let me say it's hybrid, okay? And that's what a lot of companies are trying to imbibe now. You can't go too informal because, of course, it gets out of hand. And be stiff doesn't cut it for the new generation.
No, great.
So it's hybrid. Yeah. Creativity and intelligence for me is the the crude oil of the corporate environment. Okay, so we try to foster it. We try to push it, but it's a new company trying to evolve. Okay, so there was the legacy company. Okay, but of course there are now other companies. So it's a company trying to redefine itself in the workspace. Okay. And because you have a lot of turnover, it's a bit difficult, to establish, a stable culture because people are constantly going in, coming out. So we are still trying to find that work culture, like you say, if you see someone from this company, you would know that they're telling you where they were coming from. Okay, so we are building that and deliberately too, but like I said, because of the turnover and all what is happening right now, the Japa syndrome and all that, we're finding it a bit of a work to really establish it.
So you're still in a state of cultural evolution. Yes. How However, what would you like it to be? Like if you could just press a button and have the culture that you want, what are maybe the three most important maybe value sets or value or behavior type of things you would like to see in Creditville?
Say one, I'd like it to be high level, creative driven.
Okay.
Is it creative or creativity driven?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd like to have a very empathetic environment.
Okay.
Where, one person is building to help the other person build so that we can
Not
actually
competitive.
not competitive, pathetic. And then the third thing I would love to see in the environment is that of I'm looking for the best way to put this. Loyalty, corporate loyalty. Okay? Corporate loyalty.
When you say corporate loyalty, you mean amongst your people? You want them to part of almost like a family, and they buy the vision and
brand.
Excited about
it. Yeah, excited about the brand. Okay. I see, I read a book about the Industrial Revolution in Japan some years ago. And Japanese used to spend 35, 40 years in one single organization. And then their kids will come and take over their desk. Okay? And we used to have that in Nigeria where, our parents worked 25 years. Yeah. Today, because of the choices we have, because of information technology and all of that, and mobility, some people are willing to work 6 months in a company. Mm-hmm. If I could work in one single place for 10 years, I would gladly take it. But that's not the case right now. So I'm hoping that in Creditville we can build that brand loyalty, to get excited by the brand. I know we can still get that in some companies now, but that culture is fading away.
So if you had to pick one of those three to work on first, or if you started working on those ones, which one would it be? And what would you do, or are you doing now?
I think for me it's incentive first.
Creative, yeah.
Creative environment is heaven.
So what things are you doing anything now to make that, or you're just still trying to figure that out? Is there something you're doing that?
Okay, so what we're experiencing right now, of course, we are creating. We got here by being creative. Mm-hmm. What we are doing right now is to try and make that creativity a sit-in culture.
Yes.
Where so right now, most companies, including ours, are creative out of necessity.
Yes.
Not because it's a culture. It's not a sit-in culture. So we are evolving. We are trying to be creative out of necessity. There's this challenge here,
Okay.
So we need to get to a stage where we are not creating because it is necessary. We are creating because that's who we are. Okay. So in many companies around the world, they have a lot of products, designed, and just dump it somewhere, and then one day it comes in handy, So we want creativity to be what we do regularly, to have product design left, right, and center, and just keep them in view, So if there's an economic crisis or a challenge somewhere, it's like, what about that product we looked at 2 years ago? Let's see if it will work here. Okay, so that's an environment that has imbibed creativity, into its work culture. So we want to get to that point where we are designing products and keeping them in the shelves until they are ripe for use.
Yes.
I love an environment like that.
You also mentioned that when you started, I asked about some of the things that surprised you. I'm not sure if it was answer to that particular question, but you were talking about bringing change and different people's reactions to change. You talked about people who, they just don't want change. They don't get it and they're like, what do you want to do? But then there's some that they've heard, they know, but they still find ways to kind of oppose the change for whatever reasons. What maybe 2 things would you say that you did or are doing? Because you said you're still in a state of flux, you're still in a state of evolution. But what would be maybe the 2 most salient things that you might have done or approach that you took to deal with, the people that just didn't want change, didn't understand and didn't want to hear about it? And then maybe the people that they understood, but they just didn't want to have it.
So for people who don't know, don't care,
And
there's nothing you can do. Just be transparent. Be transparent, be upfront.
so these are your choices.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
If somebody hates you, don't care, For those who don't know, okay, so some people, they don't know what you're about,
Yeah.
and they are opposing you because they don't know what you're about. So what those ones need is education. You can educate them on what you're about, okay? So that's easy, okay? So the first set of people be transparent to everybody anyway. So transparency should sort out the first set of people. The second set of people, education, okay? Education, and then so you try as much as possible to cut them. That I know you guys have been comfortable, or I know this is your comfort zone. You're wondering what the next phase will bring.
Yeah.
And this is what it'll bring. If you join me in doing ABC, we will achieve CDE. Okay? So education, constant inflow of information, carrying them along like the Nigerian language. Okay? The third set of people, they don't know, but they want to know and they want to be part of it. Those ones are, they are your bread and butter.
Yes.
They will help you work on the others.
Okay. Thank you. We have many of the companies, the older companies in Nigeria, which you mentioned, how some of them have people that have been working there for ages and the way it used to be. Then you have the companies that start and live and die with the owner. They never ascend beyond a certain threshold, many times stifled by maybe the founder, owner manager sort of thing, or whatever the issues are. Now, so Creditville has gone from, I don't know if it's owner manager, not necessarily owner manager, but becoming one thing and saying I want to scale. It wants to scale and morph into the next level, which is now the charge that you are leading. So that is not as common, I think, here in Nigeria, because I think 99% of the businesses are micro and small businesses in Nigeria. They don't go beyond to meet scale. So my question is, what steps would you say, a founder should take, if they want to scale? I know we've kind of addressed this before, but yeah, what steps would you say they should take? Like 3 steps. I have my business. Maybe I want to exit, and I want it to grow. You said what the company did, but you thinking about it, what would you say? I'm asking now.
In my opinion,
Yes.
develop what your vision is, should be. You must have a vision. Where are we going? What are we doing with this? Okay. So once you've established that vision, hopefully it's a very hard vision. The second thing, establish good corporate governance.
Okay.
Then the third thing, support that business. Okay? So let me start from the first one is, so wait, you need to first of all establish your vision. Let you know your vision already. Know it by heart. Okay, be willing to fight for that. Then bring in people who can help you nurture and execute that vision. Because you being the shareholder, of course, you will have the best interest of the company at heart. And that's what a lot of owner managers think. Oh, I have the best interest. However, are you the best person to run it? Okay? I mean, Bill Gates stepped down like donkey years ago. Okay? So, find somebody better than you or possibly better than you who can run it. Okay? Then support that vision in terms of financing. Support them in terms of networking. Whatever it is that you can put into the business after you handed it over to a competent management, support it. And I think the last one should be that you should empower that business to outgrow your vision.
So, that's
okay. So, if you have the opportunity to partner with others who can take that vision to another level, let's hold on to the company. Don't hold on to don't hold on to your strategy. This is an opportunity for this business to
transcend
to the next level. Allow it. But many of us, especially here in Africa, we think, oh, if I partner with this person, that is the end of my business. Oh, if I allow this person buy shares in my company, they are going to fight me for it, or it's not going to stay in the family. Oh, this is what I want to bequeath to my children. So a lot of sentimental attachment. And if you go to other countries, you hear there are 100 and something thousand companies at the New York Stock Exchange and the Tokyo Stock Exchange. These are people who have established companies and have sold shares and have decided to go public. In Africa, what are we doing? We are holding on to that which we have built and we are not allowing it to flourish. Okay? We see a lot of big companies in Nigeria today that are still owner managed or what we call one-man business. Not that is bad. It is not bad. It does not make us worse than the Americans, or doesn't make the Americans better than us. What we are saying is there are many opportunities you can give your company if you choose to partner with others, if you choose to establish good corporate governance, if you choose to go by the way of allowing the company to become bigger than the vision you had for it, okay? And it's not that difficult. You just have to move that company to a point where you can let it go. And it's like having a child. If many people, you follow your child to that point where you can say, okay, go get married.
Yes.
Go do bigger things. It's same thing with the company. You can let that company, you can lead it up to a point that you let the company, go, let it fly, let it achieve greater things.
Wow, Richard, there's so much that you've shared today. I was just wondering, when you came in to Creditville with this new vision, new management style, new direction, I'm sure that looking back, in hindsight, there might be things that you might do differently. Well, I'm saying I'm sure. I think there might be things you would have done differently. Are there?
Well, definitely.
Okay, then. Give me an example of like two things. Like if you, today you just got this new position with what you know now. What are things that you would, make sure you did different? Maybe like two things.
Okay. So the first thing is I would have introduced Fintech earlier. Yeah. I would have introduced Fintech much earlier. brought in our mobile app earlier, got on the digital platforms way earlier than I did. And then the second thing is the team that we put together, I'll probably have done that earlier too. So that would have helped us to pivot quicker. Pivoted at a very good time, but maybe it could have been sooner. So the things we are learning right now, we'll have learned them probably a year or two ago, and they will be way ahead of where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are two things that, I probably was slow to start up on that I should have.
Let me try to paraphrase what I think I hear. You might have been a bit more aggressive technologically,
Yes.
and more intentional about the team
Yes.
that will execute
Yes.
that strategy.
Yes.
Okay.
So there was a bit of hesitation at first. I should have done that way, quicker, more aggressive behavior.
Excellent. So how large is Creditville's customer base now?
Okay. So you're not going to hear me say we have 1 million customers, 2 million customers, 3 million. No. So because of the peculiarity of our business and our target market, our customer base right now is still less than 1 million. So the opportunities are yeah. So we've not gotten anywhere close to the peak that we want to get to. So we are still less than 1 million. The phase 2 of our mobile app is going through regulatory approval right now. When that comes out fully, then I can say within the next 2 years, we should acquire another 2 to 3 million customers, because that takes us further into the digital world. Okay? So right now, in terms of customer base, that's why where we are, we're still quite, we just started. We just started.
So we haven't seen anything yet. Oh, this is so exciting. The assuredness and the terms with which you speak is very, very heartwarming. I mean, I said it to the dating before, but it's very heartwarming, to see someone speak and say, we're going to do this, and that. And it's very exciting because you're an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur, both at the same time. And, you're going places many people haven't gone. And I'm sure that our viewers will be very excited to hear your thoughts. And so I want to thank you very much for sharing them. And thank you very much for watching another episode of the Steed Diaries. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.
We're leaving community.